Got pretty cocky, quit my job at the phone company, not even
Oh, why
thinking,
not?
oh, I can't get a mortgage anymore. So that's a mistake, quitting your job too early. And then I also told my parents that, hey, I'm not going to law school. That was your dream for me. That's not my dream. That's your dream. I'm not going to be a
Totally.
lawyer.
Hey, what's going on, Cashflow Hackers? It's Chris and Mike with Life 180, and we are here to talk about, I think, what's going to be a really fun topic, and that is, what is the worst way to get started in real estate? And we both have kind of our own stories to this on different ends of the pendulum. And so what I'm going to do is let Mike start, and then we're going to kind of go back and forth.
All right. Well, the worst way to get started is how I got started. And what happened, I remember I was in the middle of grade 12. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. Yeah. And my parents were always like saying, doctor, lawyer, doctor, lawyer. And I'm terrified of blood, so doctor was like off the table from day one. But I always saw those shows on TV where lawyers always had the fancy offices, and
sure,
the nice decanters on their desk.
I can't see you being a lawyer.
No, me neither.
Oh,
but it looked really kind of glamorous. So I thought, okay, I can do that.
Sure.
And so I went and got my first degree. And by the time I graduated that first degree, I had so much student loan debt. I say sorry. Okay. I had so much student loan debt that it seemed like an insurmountable amount of money back in those days. And so a buddy of mine, his mother was a manager at the phone company. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a job there. It was union, it was government. I thought, I'm going to pay off these student loans. Mm-hmm. And then once I've gotten paid off, I'll go get my second degree and become a lawyer. So anyway, go work for the phone company. While I'm there, I managed to get my credit really good. I'm still kind of broke, but paying all my debts. And anyway, I ended up buying my first principal residence. And I had to be a little bit creative because I didn't have a down payment. But my mortgage broker showed me some creative ways. So I bought my first home to live in. And shortly after I did that, my mortgage broker calls me again. He goes, hey, Mike, if you want, you're making good money. If you want, I can get you another mortgage if you want to buy a second home. And in those days, that sounded like, second home? I'm like a single guy. Why do I need a second home?
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
What does that even mean, and why do I want that? And he explained. It's like, Mike, you buy this home, you put a tenant in there, they pay down the mortgage, and 25 years from now, the home is clear title. That's your retirement.
Man, the power of a good mortgage broker.
I know. He totally.
That's amazing. Why don't mortgage brokers do that more often?
If you're a mortgage broker, you're watching this.
Seriously,
turn your clients into buying machines. Because you'll make a lot more money and you'll help them. But anyway, so I did that, and awesome. I didn't know how to do any due diligence, which is one of the mistakes. Don't buy until you know the due diligence steps. But I bought a second property. My due diligence back in those days was, I want something that looks pretty. And I want something that's close to where I live, so when I go collect the rent checks, which you should never collect your own rent checks, but I did. When you go collect your own rent checks, it wasn't a very long drive. Mm-hmm. And so I bought the second property. I put a tenant in there. Most of the time they paid, which was good. And then sure enough, the market, like probably 2.5 years after I bought it, the market took off. And all of a sudden, I was sitting on more equity than I, as an ex-starving university student, thought I would ever see in my entire lifetime. And so anyway, I got pretty cocky, quit my job at the phone company, not even thinking, I can't get a mortgage anymore. So that's a mistake, quitting your job too early. And then I also told my parents that, hey, I'm not going to law school. That was your dream for me. That's not my dream. That's your dream. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I have figured out real estate. I know everything there is to know about real estate. I'm invincible in real estate. How old were you? I was like early 20s, maybe 22, 20, awesome. Probably 23.
Love it.
And that's how I got my start. But then after I had, I now cashed in on my big paycheck. I had this money sitting in my account. And I thought, well, I quit my job at the phone company. So obviously I've got to be able to sustain myself. I got to get paychecks. I can't wait. This one took 2.5 years.
Nice.
And remember, it was meant to be a long-term hold. Well, I thought, flipping can't be that much different.
Sure.
So I just went and bought a property and once again, didn't really do any due diligence. But I thought I knew it all because I was in my mid-20s, or early 20s. My ego got the best of me. I thought I was God's gift to real estate and managed to lose almost all of what I made on this next deal. So that brings up a really important point. And the only reason I did this, by the way, is because I could not, my mother kept saying, get your second degree so you have something to fall back on, and then you can always pursue real estate. And I said, Mom, don't worry, I got this. I don't need that second degree. I'm going to be fine. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that I lost all my money, and she was right. I couldn't tell her she was right. I could not tell her she was right, so I had to figure it out. So
in hindsight, that's a really good thing, though, right? That pride, like, it pushed you to...
Well, I have to be grateful, because if it weren't for that, I probably would be a lawyer right now. We may be talking real estate law, and I'd be a horrible lawyer, you're right. No offense to any lawyers out there, but it's just not me.
No.
But anyways, I I kind of had to figure it out because I couldn't go back to the phone company wagging my tail between my legs, can I have my job back? And I couldn't tell my mother she was right. So I basically hired my first mentor, and I actually did a flip with him. And I put up what cash I had left over, said, hey, why don't we do a joint venture? And I'm willing to put up most of the cash, you keep most of the profit, but I want you to show me exactly what you do for due diligence. And that is the biggest mistake, is trying to, in my opinion, is trying to do real estate when you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what the due diligence steps are. You don't have the right people on your team to show you where the landmines are. And if I was smart, I would have hired the mentor before I jumped into real estate.
Yeah.
But it all kind of just happened so fast, and I was never really intending to be a real estate investor.
Yeah.
So it was a really good mistake that I became one, but it almost didn't happen because of not having the right training.
You kind of reactively got into it.
I did.
Like,
it just, it just kind of unfolded a certain way, but it was never on my radar. When I was younger, I never said I want to be a real estate. That wasn't even a thing when I was that young.
Funny.
Nobody ever talked about being a real estate investor. Was a side hustle. It was never a main gig back in those days.
That's
for
funny.
Most people.
So my story is a lot different, right? Like, so my wife and I have been married since we were young, and we've been together since we were 21. We bought our first house together in 2004 when I was 24 years old. And of course, right before the boom and the crash and all that stuff. So we bought in the middle of that. House went up in value. We're thinking we're 24 years old and we're the smartest people in the world, and what could possibly go wrong, right? And so in Arizona, our house went down in value by 72% in 6 months.
Wow.
And we ended up losing the house. We were 26 years old. And I remember going from thinking like, I'm 26 years old, I've got all this equity, I'm, my net worth, in a way, we're lucky we didn't leverage it. We didn't do a lot of things to create more problems or whatever at the time. But I was totally scarred from that experience. And I was just like, for a long time. So my wife, just a little background, if you haven't seen her, she's been on videos with us before on the channel. We do the podcast and everything, but she runs a real estate team. She's super passionate about real estate investing. And so from 2007 to 2014, when I met this guy, I was the most anti-real estate person you probably would ever meet in the world, because I got burned so bad, and I was like, what's the point of that? Like, I have all these other ways that we can help, you make money, and it just didn't click with me, because of the fact that I was just like, the risk of the boom bust cycles that we just go through, and they're inevitable, they're gonna happen, right? So how do you capitalize on them? And it wasn't till Mike shared his story with me, and I'm not gonna share that story here because we have other videos that have talked about that, but the bottom line is, when he shared a story with me and he got me to realize it was all about cash flow, and he educated me through that, actually thinking back to it, that was like that moment that we met at that Brendan Burchard event. Right. That was the precipice of what led to cash flow hacking in the way that we're doing it right now, which is kind of cool to think about. And so really that was like a tipping point in my life, realizing that, oh my gosh, like I've been wrong, and when I'm wrong about something and I realize I'm wrong, I think one of my traits that is a positive trait, I have plenty of negative traits, but one of my positive traits is I'm willing to pivot really quickly and really willing to acknowledge that I'm wrong. And so I was like, oh my gosh, so I started working with Mike, we started talking, we started going through stuff, he started educating me on a deeper level. And honestly, my biggest regret and the bad way for me was, waiting, because I burned. Because let's face it, if you had started with the flip that you lost a bunch of money with, you might have a completely different experience.
I would be not doing real estate.
But it doesn't change the principles of it, right? So if you were out there and you got burned with a flip on your first deal, it doesn't mean this isn't right. It just means you didn't do it right.
That's right.
Right?
So true.
I mean, the principles don't change. The facts don't change. The way you handle it needs to change.
Well, to be honest, had that first property just done what the markets normally do and go up like 4 or 5% every year, I would have just held on to it. By now, actually, it would be paid off.
Probably be better.
It'd be paid off, and I'd still be generating revenue, but I wouldn't have the number of properties I have now. I'd probably be a lawyer and have my one paid off property. Maybe I would have got a few more along the way. I don't know. But going full time into real estate and actually learning how to do it properly and learning from the right people and just knowing the strategies. It's changed my life. I know I have a lot of freedom that I would not have had I been a lawyer. I'm pretty sure.
And that's so when we talk about what not to do when you get started in real estate, let's talk about what to do for a second. Let's talk about the frameworks how you can get started, how you can get educated, how you can make sure you don't step in these pitfalls. And honestly, that's why we started the cash flow hacking community, because it's all about, let's face it, everybody's in a different place, right? If there's 10,000 people watching this video right now, a portion of you don't have any money, so you got to figure that out, and you need to go watch the video on how to get started in real estate with no money. There's going to be a portion of you who have plenty of money, liquid capital, and there's going to be a portion of you that have not quite enough, but you have the ability to save. And so everybody's in a different place. So what you need to do is going to differ based on your profile, right? What I know to be true is, depending on where you are, there are different things that you can do. Like, so if you don't have any money, you can figure out a way to go use other people's money, right? You can figure out strategies to go do that. Once again, I said we had videos on that. If you have money, save, but you need to save more, and you're looking to do that, there are strategies behind that. And if you have plenty of money, this guy is a master at teaching you how to turn that into creating wealth through cash flow, through appreciation, through tax benefits, through all these different things. And that, to me, is one of the biggest components to it. And so in about a month, I want to invite you guys to check it out. You can actually go, you can kind of pre-opt in, you can check it out, cashflowhacking.com. It's going to be in the link below. You can go check it out. We're going to be doing all sorts of training on how to set yourself up in a position where you can get involved in real estate through cash flow hacking, by going through a process to understand, no matter where you are on the spectrum, right, that it's gonna give you a pathway to create a customized plan for you to get from where you are right now to where you want to be. And I think what you'll discover is, where you want to be, it doesn't matter. Like, the biggest mistake people make is thinking about their retirement as some period of time 30 to 40 years from now, and just kind of hoping that they're stuffing enough money in a way in random, like, qualified accounts, and just kind of crossing their fingers hoping that it's going to get where they want to be. And the reality is, it's not. It's just not. It's like almost impossible for it to get to where you want to go, unless you're saving 30% of your paycheck, basically. And so when you look at that perspective, we need to stop thinking about retirement. We need to start thinking about financial freedom and cash flow. Financial freedom is simply you having enough passive cash flow to replace your income and expenses, right?
Absolutely, and it's a lot easier than most people think.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, once again, if I knew 32 years ago what I know today, it would have been a much smoother trajectory, not this. Yeah. But every single person can do it. You just need the training. This is not stuff that we're taught in school. Yeah. It's not stuff that you just randomly fall upon. It's stuff that you actively have to seek out, and you have to have the right people showing you what to do, how to do it properly. But that is a shortcut to getting to your financial freedom. I love it. So if you want to learn from him, if you want to learn from me and from Cole Snell, who's also going to be involved in here, you see him on some other videos on the channel, go to cashflowhacking.com, check it out. We got a book coming out too on cash flow hacking. It's going to be amazing. This will change your life. Shifting your mindset from retirement to freedom, thinking about going away from the accumulation investment mindset to the cash flow investment mindset, it will change your life. It'll change the way you show up in your life. It'll force you to become more. That's the coolest part. Like, you can go out and do this in a more predictable way, and really get intentional about what you want to accomplish, and compress the time frame to get there. It doesn't have to be 40, 30, 40 years to get to where you want to go. And that's what this is all about. So if you haven't already, smash that like button. Appreciate it. YouTube gets it out to more people. The algorithm loves it when the more likes a video gets. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell. That way you get notified every single time we launch a video. And until next time, go out, have a blessed, inspirational day. Check out the end screen on the end of this. We got a great playlist for you to check out on real estate that'll really help you out, and a pretty cool video that I think you'll enjoy.